Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome. Today, I wanted to have a chat and channel session with you about the word no and the power of no. Saying no to things is something spiritual people and empathic and enlightened people often have a problem with for at least a beginning part of our journeys, especially in the fields of boundaries and what that means. So, as we wrap up a year and enter a new year here, I really wanted to deep dive on this to help you be more in your empowerment. But please know that if you are listening to this some other time of the year, it truly is a timeless energy and spiritually guided for you whenever spirit and the universe are trying to help you empower yourself through the power of no. So before we deep dive and get started on all that, let me introduce myself. If you are new here, my name is Danielle, hashtag damsel at D's Enlightened Edits of Damsel Designs, DAMCL Designs.com. I am a spiritual advisor, psychic medium, quantum Sikhem and shamanic energy healer, as well as energy artist, speaker, and so much more. And during these chat and channel sessions, my guides, or in some cases some of you, present me with a topic and we have a stream of consciousness channeling about it. Now, if you are so inclined, I also invite you to get out a journal or a pen and some paper or the notes app on your phone or favorite device and do some stream of consciousness writing along with me as I am channeling so that you can really tap into your intuition and your full power and the messages that may be open to you by listening to and participating in this chat and channel session. You can, of course, also leave your comments in the comments along with any generalized questions that you may have. So let's get started. Saying no is something that I had a problem with and was really kind of trained or programmed out of for the majority of my life. And I noticed recently when some old wounds or trauma feelings around saying no arose for me, I was able to identify and actually see this part of my wounded inner child that really puts her head down and is sullen and is made to feel so guilty about saying no. And this is something that I've seen with my clients and with others over and over again. Whenever we have trouble or difficulty or guilt or fear or anxiety with something in a repetitive way, it can often stem back to an old wound for us. And even if you are someone like me who believes in past lives and karma and all of that, in my work, I always find it helpful so that whether people believe and resonate in past lives or not, to tie it to the wounded inner child. Because of course, in my view and in my experience as an Akashic Records reader and healer as well, there is no past life that you could have had that will not in some way reverberate into issues that showed up for you again in some way in your childhood. So really, if we focus on healing and understanding the inner child wounds and integrating the inner child and honoring the inner child, then no matter what we believe about past lives or not, we can really heal our life, our perceptions, and co-create a better present and future reality. And so for me, I was seeing this little girl who was made to feel so guilty about saying no. And that was honestly not only for things that I may have tried to say no to, but it was also how the word no was illustrated to me in my childhood. I saw my caretakers and the people around me have a hard time saying no and often put their needs or wants on the back burner to say yes to people that maybe should have gotten a no, or say yes to situations that maybe should have gotten a no. And I want to share that for any of the parents out there or for any of the people that are involved heavily in children's lives, because it's not only what we tell them and what we teach them and what we allow them to do for themselves, it is also how we embody those lessons and how we show them whether we can embody them and integrate them and actually utilize them or not. So the people in my life constantly discerning that they needed, for whatever reason, to say yes to people that maybe didn't require or need or deserve a yes, and not being able to say no and then feeling resentment about it, or costing us as a family in order to say yes to people that needed a no. That was illustrated to me, and I took that on in my inner child as well. And I know it's a similar story for many of my clients and many of you fellow empaths, because many people grow up empathic because of emotionally immature or boundaryless caretakers in life. Now, that doesn't mean they're bad people, but it means they may not necessarily know how to utilize, uphold, or honor boundaries, or they might be emotionally immature, meaning they simply do not know and are maybe not committed to the process of handling their own energy, and it may spill out all over the child, who then adapts to become empathic and feel like they have to carry or help with those emotions or energies. Now, if you're more interested in this, there are plenty of other chat and channel sessions that you could find through the playlist linked in the description that also relate to empaths, the narcissist empath polarity, and so many other things that I'm sure you'd find helpful. But for me, this was definitely the case, and I felt so guilty about telling people no, and I developed this automated response to try to make it work the way people asked, even if it should be a no, and even if it would make more problems for me, because that's what was illustrated and emphasized and deemed to be important from the way that I grew up. And I know that a lot of people, particularly female empaths or female inclined energy people, grew up with this problem, and it is a problem. It was maybe not an intentional problem from our parents or caretakers, but it causes a lot of difficulty in life, because it often leads to difficulty or guilt around self-care, around self-preservation, around fulfilling our own needs, or accepting or allowing our own needs to be fulfilled. Sometimes if we develop these tendencies to have a difficulty saying no, not only may it feel difficult to say no to others, some people internalize and feel a difficulty in saying no to themselves on kind of the opposite end of the spectrum in dealing with that wound. And sometimes these people can develop things like addictive tendencies or overdoing tendencies in terms of not necessarily being able to say no to more food than necessary for the body in order to self-soothe and self-comfort, or not being able to say no to another drink or substance that may not be healthy for the body, or other overindulgences. So it's up to you to see how this may have played out for you and the people in your life. But I wanted to talk about this today because I really want you to listen to this as sort of a pep talk and an understanding and a reintroduction to you and the parts of you that may struggle with this, because it's not very often talked about, and we've heard so much talk, both external and internal dialogue to the contrary, to this point in our lives. If we have this issue, we've probably been hearing in the internal dialogue for the majority of our lives that it's bad or it's selfish to say no, or to not automatically put the other person first. And so listening to things like this can really help you to repattern and work on adjusting, changing, or healing your belief systems around this issue, so that it can start to feel easier setting boundaries, saying no, moving forward in life. And actually, as I'm recording this, this is going to be the last chat and channel session of this particular Gregorian calendar year, and a sort of prep for entering the new year ahead. Now, as I said in the beginning, this is timeless work, so please listen to this whenever you're called to it. But I particularly was called to put it out now because so many people at this time, and of course at any time, are setting intentions for their future. And you could be manifesting a new year at any point in the year. But when you're setting those intentions, If you're coming up to checkpoints, energetic checkpoints, to see whether you are ready and willing and able to receive them, very often you will have to say no to something. Sometimes, if you're manifesting something, the universe will present you with an alternative or an almost there to see if you will accept that instead. And if you really want the thing that you've been going for, manifesting, or working for, you have to be able to have the willpower to say no when it's something that's not for you, that's not right for you, or not what you want or are worthy of. And you are worthy of the things that you want. But of course, it can take however much work it takes to work on our belief systems, work on our boundaries, work on our practices, and actually be able to create and or receive those things. And no is a part of that that's not often talked about because we're so used to affirming in the positive that we forget that we need this power on the other end of the spectrum to say no as well. Because whenever you are saying yes to something or asking for something, you are also saying no simultaneously to someone else or something else. And so this is where the power of no can be personalized to you and your manifestations. And I also want to talk about the power of no with people, right? And circumstances and situations, because this is where the majority of us have struggled with the power of no. I want you to understand that sometimes saying no to someone, although it can trigger you and feel guilty and selfish while you're moving through it, can be exactly what they need to hear. So I want you to understand that. I want you to understand that you're not here to save everyone or say yes to everyone or say yes to every invitation, opportunity, or circumstance. You are here to decide what it is best and what you want to use your energies for. Now, even if that person truly believes that they need you and they need this particular thing that they're asking you for, if it is not right for you, or if spirit or your intuition is telling you on any level that it should be a no, I want to encourage you to explore that. And I want to encourage you to follow that intuition if it does feel like a no for you, and work on dropping the guilt and the shame and the fear and the frustration about saying no, and actually take that step in saying no, understanding that by you saying no to them, the universe could be saying yes to them for something even greater than you're able to provide at that time. We don't have to be the saviors for everyone. We don't have to be the accommodators for everyone. And matter of fact, we burn ourselves out and do injustice to a lot of times both ourselves and the other people if we're saying yes in a circumstance where it should be no. So I want you to understand that even though it may not necessarily be something that you cannot see at the moment, by you saying no to something that is not for you, you are saying yes to something that is for you. And by you saying no to someone else, though you are giving them a no from you, you are opening and pointing them towards the door of a different type of yes, which will probably be greater than you were able to provide at that time anyway. And even if that yes takes a while to get to them or looks like a lesson for them, that's not something for you to carry. And that's all part of boundaries, understanding where your energy boundaries are and where you have enough time and space and energy to say yes to something or where you don't. And knowing that the people that are supposed to maintain and continue relationship with you in your life will be ready and willing and able to grow with you and to be able to accept your no's, even if they sometimes have hurt feelings about it for themselves first, which is perfectly natural and human. And sometimes saying no in this way and standing up for our boundaries will also point out the people that maybe we've outgrown or were meant to be in our life for only a certain period of time and are not necessarily signed up for the next level and phase of our life where we are more honoring to ourselves and to them and the divine no that is coming through. Because in all actuality, if you don't trust the universe enough to say no when it is asking you to say no for whatever those reasons are, then you're also not only disrespecting yourself, but you would be disrespecting the other person because you're not honoring their soul sovereignty and their ability to be or to become capable of getting their need met elsewhere. And so it is actually a deep, deep trust maneuver and mechanism to be able to say no in a respectful way, because it means that you are respecting both you and both them. So I know that it can feel uncomfortable. I know that it can feel difficult, but if you get about this practice, and sometimes we go all the way on the other end of the spectrum, we've said yes to everything for years, and then all of a sudden we want to say no to everything. That's a natural tendency, to be honest with you, for people that really are not in practice with this. So don't judge yourself if you go that route. But what that means is you've said yes to so many things for so long that now you're kind of just going the other way and then saying no to everything. So I want you to pull back from that. Understand that you may need a period where you shut down kind of and pull back from everything to replenish yourself, maybe out of a phase of burnout that you weren't recognizing, but also that the next step then is getting into discernment and asking for time maybe before you make a decision, so that you can not have to feel pressure to say yes or no, but you can say, I'm not sure right now. Can I get back to you at such and such a time that feels relevant for you and gives you enough time and space to answer that, and be open that they may not be able to wait that amount of time. So you can maybe negotiate the amount of time until you have to get back to them with an answer. But know that your soul is timeless and time can be created for you if you need it, in my experience, and if you feel worthy enough to request that from the universe. So request that from other people and say, I'm not sure right now. I'm really busy. I want to check in about that and get back to you. And stand in your sovereignty in doing that, and then wait until you have a moment where you can be quiet and be in your discernment and say, is this a full body yes for me? How much of a yes or a no is this for me? And then if you have time, why? Why is it a yes? Why is it a no? Because if you have time to do that deep work, you may find that you want to say no to this person because you realize how many times you've said yes to them without them really appreciating it, or maybe with them taking it for granted, or maybe because you haven't been communicative of how much it takes for you to say yes. And so they're taking it for granted and not understanding how much it means to you to set aside time or energy from your schedule to say yes to them. So that's an opportunity to delve more into authenticity in relationships and explain. Not that you have to explain, because explaining can be a trauma response, but explain that it's just not something you have time and space for right now, or you feel like you may have reached your limit with this particular person about showing up for them in this way. And so it's going to be a no for you. And it's okay to say things like that. Of course, it's all about the way you say it, and that's going to depend on the type of person you're dealing with. Remember that the type of person you're speaking with and saying yes or no to may not be necessarily at the same consciousness or emotional maturity level as you are diving into by way of doing this healing and this deep discernment work. And so it may not be the best use of your energies to explain all these things, or to have those types of conversations with people who are just not there to take it in. And it's not saying that you're smarter than them or you're better than them, but it's kind of a waste of your energy to try to make them meet you at your level, and instead just appreciate the shared levels that you may have or may have had in the past that you may be transitioning out of, but they may not necessarily be in that time, place, and space yet. So I hope that this has all helped you and given you some pep talks in terms of having these types of conversations, because I want you to understand that this is the type of spiritual work that really can and should be part of our everyday. And eventually it will become more second nature to us, where it doesn't have to feel like work. But tapping into this divine power of saying no also means that we have more energy in our reserves to say yes to or receive the things that are aligned with us, or the things that we have been working for, the things that we have been working to manifest, or the types of people, or more of the types of people in relationships that are reciprocal to us, that are understanding when it's a no, and that will show up for us, and that we can ask things of as well, in ways that we may not have allowed ourselves yet in life. Because I know for me, a large portion of my life, I really only had people around who would ask me for things, that felt that they could constantly ask me for things. And I did not necessarily feel with these types of relationship and these types of people, or was discouraged from feeling that I could ask them for things as well, and that we could have a reciprocal space for each other relationship. And that is something, to be honest with you, that if that's an issue, if that sounds like you, that's something that you generally have to cycle out of. And you may need to release people from your life and release the pattern of allowing that same type of person into your life over and over and over again, whether those are family members, whether those are friends, whether those are colleagues, or even clients. Every type of relationship has the opportunity to be reciprocal if you do this type of healing work and allow for it to be, so that things, even if we're not exchanging the same type of energy, we could be exchanging something so that we're honoring of and respectful of and understanding of each other's energies, to the point where the relationship is balanced. And I know everyone wants to have more of those type of relationships in their life, rather than the karmic, imbalanced, or toxic kind that a lot of empaths find themselves patterning and repeating in. So if this is something that's interesting to you, you may also be interested in the chat and channel session that I did on soul groups and shifting soul groups. I will link that in the description as well, along with the playlist of all the other chat and channel sessions. Now, if this is something that you've noticed as a repeating pattern, you may be inclined to start working on it even beyond the journaling that I hope that you've participated in here. And you may want to use the link in the description to contact me about quantum, Sikhem, and shamanic energy healing, or life and consciousness coaching containers. Those are specially built energy packages that are built on a one-to-one basis based on your soul's needs at this time. So if that feels calling to you, if you're really ready to deep dive and rise, use that link and shoot me a message so we can set up a time to talk and see if we are a good fit to plan and arrange such works for you. I also do offer on my website quantum and Akashic records reading sessions. Just to let you know, sessions are not healings. Healings I only do in terms of the container, so I can be around to help you integrate the energy. But in particular sessions, we can also get you a great deal of information if you are a self-healer and ready and willing to do your own work with that information that you receive through sessions. And I offer several types on my website as well. There is also energy art and enlightened merch and digital downloads and other goodies that you could find on my website, Damsel Designs, DAMCLdesigns.com. I would love to work with you further, but I am so glad that you have participated in this here. I would love to hear in the comments the ways that you feel more empowered to say no, or the ways that you are at least willing to explore saying no, so that you can explore more yeses for you and to you, right? Because we need to be receptive to the yes that we want to receive from the universe as well. So I pray that and nothing but blessings for you, dear one. If this or any of my other free and public works and chat and channel sessions have helped you, and you want to be a supporter of the channel, you can do so by all amounts appreciated energy exchange and donations through paypal.me/DeezenLaneDedits, or the donate links that are linked in the description as well. That is not a necessary requirement, but I know that some of you do like to support public pages such as mine, so that this information can reach more people who may need it, and I appreciate all of you who are inclined to do that. Thank you all for being here. I wish you nothing but the best in the year to come, whether it is almost a new year for you or whether you are just starting a new year at any time by tapping into this power. I am so excited for you to do that. Be blessed with love, light, and light codes. Love, Danielle. # damsel at D's Enlightened Edits of damseldesigns.com. Remember to like and subscribe for more.